That time I got reincarnated as a demon lord, English, by LordedoMal44. 12. This isn't cheating, it's just his part of the deal. What are you doing here, petulant girl? It wasn't enough to piss me off all the way to Dwargon, do you still want to continue? Is this how you get one of your subordinates? What a horrible boss I got, huh? This exchange took place between me and the petulant goblina, both of us looking at each other in the eyes, but soon a smile appeared on my face. How could I forget about that? The deal we both made. An agreement is an agreement, after all, so both sides have to abide by their parts of the agreement. Well, my mistake. How could I forget about that? I'm counting on you from now on, my dear petulant coon. Oh, you. Kaido-san, could you continue to guide us? I ignored her as I asked this to Kaido, who nodded at my words with a noticeable nervousness on his face, and then he started to guide us. Still, he tried to keep as much distance from me and the petulant coon beside me as possible, as if the small aura filled with powerful killing intent she was releasing had something to do with it. Should it be? Well, I don't know and I don't care, after all, as I'm the boss, she can't touch me. With me totally ignoring the petulant goblina, we continued our walk towards the blacksmith Kaido recommended us, still keeping some distance so as not to frighten him with the goblina's aura. Of course, that forced me to walk beside that petulant girl, and whenever that happens we fight, but we'd only get in trouble if one of us starts talking, so I think everything will be fine if I keep quiet. Hey, Slime-san, you shouldn't forget our deal, huh? I'll only serve you until I find the person I really want to serve. The one who is able to raise the dead and thus fulfill my desire. I spoke too soon. I turned towards the petulant coon, staring at the expression on her face, and a smile appeared on my face as I thought of the right answer for her. Yes, you already said. And I've also said that I'll become capable of doing that just so I can rub that petulant little face of yours that you're going to have to serve me forever. She looked angry for a second, but what did she expect? She started talking, so it stands to reason that it will end up in a fight, no matter how you look at it. And while I can imagine the reasons she's obsessed with working for someone who can raise the dead, I couldn't understand why she has to act this annoying way of hers with me. As I thought about that, I suddenly saw how she was reaching out towards me on the ground. Come here. Doubtfully, I turned towards her, after all she said it quite suddenly. Why was she with his arms outstretched towards me? Did she want to hug me? Or did she want to give me a rear naked choke and end the loose ends they knew about the bet? At least, I can't imagine hugging me being what she wanted. She really wanted to give me a rear naked choke, didn't she? It's irritating to hear this poyon, of you jumping on the floor every 2 seconds, so hurry up. I'll carry you. At first, I hesitated. I mean, this petulant goblina usually wants to kill me every 5 seconds and then suddenly wants to carry me. This is, at the very least, something to fear. But let's say her poyon, called me. So I jumped into a hug, ignoring any danger. Why do I feel like you just thought of something unpleasant? Your impression. What about your line of sight? Where do you think you were looking? I don't even have eyes. I don't know what you're talking about. She glared at me even deadlier than before, but I ignored her. I felt that if she had the cursed look of instant death, then I would have acquired instant death immunity so successfully that I was able to ignore her. Snuggling into the goblina's lap as she carried me, we continued to follow Kaido. The feeling of being carried and the softness was really spectacular, and I never imagined feeling something like this before. Probably when I get back to the goblin village, I'll have one of the goblinas be my secretary and carry me around so I can get to places faster, you know? It's faster than jumping around. If you don't stop thinking about unpleasant things, you'll never get a girlfriend. Herg. What are you talking about? I'll have a harem someday. That's also unpleasant. Herg. She and that sharp tongue of hers. At least I'll be able to correct her behavior a little now that she's my subordinate. Besides, how does she know what I think? Do you have any kind of mind-reading skill by any chance? Less than warning. Due to the effects of unique skill, unholy skills and spells related to mind and soul manipulation and control are ineffective to a certain extent. The behavior of the individual Rimuru Tempest is just too obvious. Greater than. Thank you, Sage. I think. Well, never mind. Honestly, my behavior is what matters the least right now. I have to focus on my goal. I mean, How am I going to make a smith proud of his profession give up his techniques created with years of deep effort to teach those techniques to a group of untrained monsters who might one day be enemies of his country? This without paying an absurd or impossible price? Well, at least I already thought of a plan B, although I didn't want to use it, at least not now. We're here, Rimuru-san. You and the goblina with you can go inside. Really? Thank you. Kaido started leading us around inside the store, and I had to say, what costume store is this? The shop was packed with weapons of all kinds, swords, spears, axes, armor, and shields. Also, on the corner wall there was even a glowing sword that, clairvoyance, revealed to be a magic weapon. I have to analyze that later. In the end, it looks like the blacksmith Kaido brought us to see was really the best, right? We passed the store. If there were 1 or 2 customers it was a lot, so we didn't draw much attention as we passed, although the customers still looked at me as I passed. Which? Can't I come to a gun shop to buy a sword just because I'm a slime? That's discrimination? With that, facing the eyes of the few customers, we made our way to a back room, a place where the sound of metal clattering was coming. Well, this is a blacksmith's shop, after all, so there was no way not to have the clatter of metal. Eniki. Eniki. I brought customers. The dwarf beating a hot iron plate against an anvil, named Kaijin, stopped what he was doing and turned towards us when he heard Kaido calling out to him. When he turned around, taking off the glasses he wore to protect from the glare of the flames, he was surprised the moment he saw us. Kaido. What are you doing here? What about a goblina who has a pet slime? Pet. I saw a smug smile appear on the goblina's face, and I actually froze just imagining he said I was a pet. I mean, do these people underestimate slimes that much? Perhaps realizing that I didn't like being called that at all, let alone the petulant Kun's smile, Kaido took the reins of the conversation. Actually, it's the opposite, Eniki. This goblina, I think she's a servant who started working for this slime today. Rimuru-san, he's the one I came to introduce you to. The slime? Yes, the slime. Any problems with slimes? Kaijin seemed surprised to hear my words. Well, I must have been the first slime he'd ever seen talking, but he'd still been pretty rude to someone who was talking to a potential customer. It's not like that at all, Shlee. Rimuru dono. It's just that it surprised myself a little, I think. I looked at the Kaijin, who looked a little taken aback by what had just happened, and a smile spread across my face. Well, I always knew that I would be underestimated by people if I was in my slime form, and I could even mimic a human form to avoid that, but being underestimated has its perks. That and imitating a human form without meeting the requirements would not be useful to me. It's okay, Kaijin-san. More importantly, I wanted to ask you a little favor if possible, Kaijin-san. A favor? I nodded to the Kaijin, waiting for an answer from him. I was hoping that after what happened Kaijin would do me a small favor so I could forget about the mistake he had made, but, contrary to what I imagined, Kaijin looked thoughtful for a few seconds. And besides getting lost in his thoughts, the expression on Kaijin-san's face seemed to be closer to denying than accepting any kind of favor. Oh, isn't that Slime-san? Without a doubt, this is the Slime-san from before. I was taken aback by the image of 3 dwarves. The 3 dwarf brothers Kaido had introduced me to earlier, whom I had saved using my healing potion. Kaijin seemed to be taken aback too, albeit for a very different reason than mine. Hey you guys, do you know this slime? With that, the 3 brothers explained to Kaijin how I saved them by giving them the healing potion, which surprised him a bit. Maybe slimes don't usually carry such good healing potions. Well, it's not like some slime walking around has the intelligence to know what a healing potion is, other than me, of course. Thanks, Slime Dono. Knowing that you saved these 3 just makes me even more indebted to you. Still, I don't know if I can do you a favor, at least not now. Kaijin explained how he had sent the 3 of them to mine the mine for Magistone ore, something he already imagined he wouldn't find since the mine was empty. That was the reason they ended up being attacked. He also explained how this Prime Minister, Vesta, gave him an impossible mission to complete, and that now he not only doesn't have the raw materials to complete it, but he also doesn't have time. I'm laughing at how everything seems to be so convenient in my favor. Do I have the unique skill, luck, and I didn't know it? I mean, it's not the first time I've seen events seem to be working in my favor. Less than answer. The individual Rimuru Tempest does not have any unique skills that affect the individual's luck. He only has the skills necessary to deal with most situations. Furthermore, according to the sacred texts, the individual has just raised a flag that will turn against the individual later on. Greater than. I feel like I'm turning, great sage, into an otaku, but I think that's okay. More importantly, did I, an otaku, really make the mistake of raising a flag? So many years of training and I still make a mistake like that. Well, let's just deal with it when the time comes, shall we, friend? Less than. Greater than. Well, whoever shuts up, consents, so I'll take that as a yes. Kaijin-san, this mission you have seems to be quite impossible, but I think I can help you. But first, I have to know. If I can help you with this, will you do me a favor? If you help me do this, even if it's just to rub it in Vesta's face, I'll help you with anything you need. So come to my future country and become my main blacksmith. It seems like you would say something like that. Still, I managed to get him to do me a favor, didn't I? So, I think I can already say that I have my mission accomplished. Okay. So I'm going to need you to show me one of the finished swords, and if you have the metal needed for the swords, I'd appreciate it. They brought everything just as I asked. Of course, the metal isn't magistone or magisteel, but I think this will do. All I don't want is for them to know that I have hundreds of pounds of magisteel stored inside me. After all, I'm already the golden slime by the way, and they've already wanted to sell me to a circus, so if they still know I'm a walking safe, I don't even want to think about it. Okay. Get ready for the show. With that, I devoured the sword. Everyone was surprised for a second, but then I spat out the sword again. Next to the first, a second sword, made by combining the metal they'd given me with the magisteel inside me. A third and fourth followed soon after, until finally, all 20 swords the Kaijin needed to make had been successfully copied. Here it is, 20 magisteel swords, fresh out of the oven. Everyone was surprised by what I did, and when they asked about it I just said it was a trade secret. Why not talk about my unique skill? Why would I trust a creature that isn't a monster? Monsters cannot lie, but it is unknown what humans and humanoids are thinking, as lying to them is as easy as breathing. In fact, if I had to say, female humans have some talent when it comes to lying. After we talked for a while longer, Kaijin and the three brothers decided to take me to the bar called Butterflies of the Night. Of course I wanted to deny it and do my job diligently, but Arufas. I had to go because of the elves. As for Petulant Kun, since it's going to be unpleasant to see a pervert like you in a place full of women, I'll go back with the others. I'll tell Gobuta to guide people from my village to yours, since the others must want to serve you too, and meeting you before you leave Dwargon so we can go to your village together. It would be strange for the village leader to travel alone without guards. And with that, she left Kaijin's shop and we went our separate ways. Of course, normally I would be annoyed at her for talking like that to me, her current boss, but elves were waiting for me so practically nothing could spoil my mood today. Oh, and as for the favor I asked Kaijin for, he was doing the favor as we walked towards this bar. Then you must hit the iron while it is still hot to remove the impurities and to mold the metal into the shape you want. It is very important to make sure the temperature is correct, otherwise the weapon may have much more impurities than recommended and it would be. As we walked, Kaijin and the dwarf brothers explained the basics of blacksmithing to me. With a little help from the thought transmission skill I had created a space where all thoughts were shared so that I could see things the way they imagined them, making it easier to understand. That way, I can use everything I was taught later and also teach others. Less than warning. The reconfiguration using the unique skill, Metamorphosis, has been completed. Greater than. And, well, of course I'm not just going to rely on what they say. I mean, surely the instructions they gave me would be enough to make a rookie blacksmith among the goblins. One good enough to start our domination crusade. Still, what I'm aiming for is not just the Jura Forest, so limiting it to basic knowledge would be bad, even more so when facing a blacksmith as good as Kaijin. After all, Dwargon could be one of my enemies in the future. Less than. Do you want to enable skill optimization to fulfill the designated role? Yes. No. Greater than? Yes. As soon as I said that, I could already feel the difference. How did I modify one of my skills for this very specific situation? Well, actually, that was plan B that I asked the sage to prepare for me since before I met Kaijin. The unique skill, metamorphosis, as the name implies, is a skill that allows me to change shape. Still, despite possessing it, I can't acquire a human form. That's because, like mimicry, a predator, metamorphosis needs information about the type of species I want to transform into, and so I would need to devour it. And analyze a human body if I wanted to transform myself into a human. I might be crazy enough to want a human form and be willing to devour a human for that, but even I wouldn't do it so lightly as to find a human walking around and devour him. If I'm going to devour someone, let it at least be a handsome guy. Still, this skill is not useless to me. The best way to describe the unique skill, metamorphosis, would be like a magic cube, with the ability to change the position of each of its houses, even though it can't change what they are. This could also be thought of as an anagram, which changes the positions of the letters of a word to form a new word with a different meaning, but with all the letters corresponding to the first word. What is the relationship between this and my situation? Well, less than understood. Starting reconfiguration. Completed. Thought transmission, from now on, will be absorbing the memories present inside the Kaijin individual's mind. Greater than. Due to it being a mental skill, I just had to use metamorphosis to change the flow direction and acquire all of Kaijin's memories. Of course, in order not to pry into his life, I would leave it to the sage to organize Kaijin's memories in a way that I could convert this into a high-level blacksmith's basic class. It's not because it would be boring to have to go through the details of Kaijin's life and learn one by one and assess which one is important to me or not. Cheating? This isn't cheating. Okay. I asked him to teach me everything he knew about blacksmithing, and as we wake up, he's just fulfilling his end of the bargain. Of course, I couldn't deny that I was a little curious about this magical soldier project.